Hey, what's up? So, got another look at something here for you. I'm not sure how I got on this track, but today I was thinking about a lot of things. I'm gonna make a video about the Venus retrograde in mundane astrology for America, probably. But I got to thinking about the Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries, which starts in 2025 through 2026. And I really started wondering about past Saturn Neptune conjunctions. In my view, well, let's start this way. So, I think the outer planets, Uranus and Neptune, they're barely visible, right? And they, in a sense, they reveal or they have to do with more concealed events sometimes. But I got to thinking about what do they actually mean, right? And I wonder if their meaning is always meant to be elusive to us by their nature, or symbolically how they're concealed from our eyes, if you catch my drift. But I went back trying to look at previous Saturn Neptune conjunctions. Like I mentioned a second ago, this one in 2025, 2026 will be in Aries. And I was looking back, and the previous one was throughout 1989, and it was in Capricorn. I don't want to move the chart, but well, maybe we will. We will anyway. In March of 1989, the first one occurred, and the only significant events I could really find for March of 1989 were the King nuclear tests that were done by the United States. Wait, I may be completely missing something up. I don't think I am, but let me just be sure. No, I actually am missing something. So actually that is a previous one. I think that one was actually the Neptune-Saturn conjunction in Libra, which we probably won't talk about much. Well, we will, since that's the one I'm trying to get to. It's the first one I looked at. Sorry, that was convoluted. But Saturn Neptune conjoined in Libra in March of oh gosh, I had it pulled up. Let me see. I'll just get it pulled up again. Oh wait, yeah, no. I'll have to look. I'll have to move the chart to find it. Oh my. But yeah, I mean it's worth doing. Just because I have it in my mind. 53. It's in the or 52. Okay. So this one started in 52 and then perfected another conjunction in my gosh, I wish I still had this pulled up. Okay, May 53. I could have just searched Ivy King. I would have got it. Ivy King and Ivy Mike were the largest pure fission nuclear bombs ever tested by the United States. On November, this one was in November. All right, sorry, we'll back it up. See that? November of 1952, Ivy King and the other one, what's the other one called? Ivy Mike were both detonated. I think on November 2nd and then on November 16th, right? So I bring that up because I was trying to figure out, well, what does Neptune mean? And I know we've already made this video too long already. I could have gotten to the point. But Neptune has a way of dissolving boundaries. I think that's probably the best definition we really have of what it does. And this, a fission operation requires separating or ending the separation of these particles, from what I understand about it. Well, I really just wanted to make note of that. This video is more about 1989 because I think it's a more telling instance of a dissolving of a separation, because in 1989, on November 9th, the Berlin Wall fell. So I have the chart here erected with the mundane astrology for that year for Berlin. It was a mutable rising chart year for the Aries ingress, so I have it erected here for the Libra ingress of the Sun, which puts the Saturn Neptune conjunction in the 5th house. Now, mundane astrology doesn't consider the outer planets because of the fact that they weren't discovered while mundane astrology was really being used the most, or defined. We don't use the outer planets when we are thinking about events in mundane astrology generally. But consider this, right? So we have the planet Jupiter ruling Sagittarius here, and in this chart there's a mutual reception between the moon in Pisces and Jupiter in Cancer, and that Jupiter in Cancer is opposing the Saturn Neptune conjunction in the 5th house. Now, the fact that it's in the 5th house I think is kind of curious. I'm not sure what to make of that, because the 5th house and the 11th house are always opposite, right? And we have Jupiter in the 11th house in its exaltation, although being retrograde. And you can see, I'll move it ahead a little bit further here, that Saturn-Neptune conjunction happened a few days after that, on the same day as the exact opposition of Saturn and Jupiter, and also Jupiter and Neptune, on the same day of that conjunction. And, well, although I don't really understand what it means to be in the 5th house, although having a wall between the people you love really, tells the story of that. Having Neptune there in Saturn's domicile conjunct to Saturn shows a dissolution of a literal wall. So that is, although I took a long time to say that simple statement, that is the main thing that I have to share with you, is that, that righteousness or goodness of Jupiter being in the 11th there shows a powerful push for a more integrated community. Jupiter integrates, and in the 11th house is his joy. So, and he's ruling the house that Saturn and Neptune are in this chart. Having Venus so close to that conjunction there as well is interesting, because Venus is ruling the 3rd house and the 10th house, indicating the government and the street level of our life, our neighborhood, the 10th house and the 3rd house respectively. So it's quite interesting that the day that the wall fell was the day that Neptune conjoined Saturn in its own sign. Now, Saturn in its own sign is very strong, right? There's really no, other than a planet in its exaltation, there's no stronger position for a planet to be in. So Saturn in Capricorn was overpowered by this Neptune and Jupiter influence here. we could say that because Jupiter is in an earlier zodiacal position and in its exaltation, that he overcame Saturn there, that very strong wall that Saturn in Capricorn represents. So to kind of bring this around, I really wanted to use those two examples, mainly this one because it's so striking, of what Neptune can represent, to take a look at Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. I did find some other like there were other events that happened in 1989. Before we get into, I do want to share this since I have it on my mind. In 1989 as well, there at the during March, which was another moment of the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. You can see that there with the moon there. On March, what day is that? In March 1989, there was a geomagnetic storm that caused the aurora borealis, which is only normally visible in the north, to be visible as south as Florida. Can you imagine? I see on Wikipedia it says the aurora could be seen as far as Texas and Florida. As this occurred during the Cold War, an unknown number of people worried that a nuclear first strike might be in progress. Others incorrectly considered the intense auroras to be associated with the space shuttle mission STS-29, which had been launched on March 13th. Substantial communications blackouts occurred during that time as well. And that may not be related, but Neptune seems to dissolve the structures of things. The Neptune will dissolve whatever it's given to dissolve. So I think what we need to consider is what is Saturn and Aries interested in, and what will Neptune be doing to dissolve that. And although I'm not really well versed in my triplicity rulerships, I do know that Saturn has some dignity in the fire signs. By day or night, I couldn't tell you. So yes, we have here in early February 2026. I say 2025 to 2026 because, as you can see, it gets very close, I think. I'm not sure that makes the exact conjunction, but it gets very close in 2025. So what's Saturn in Aries MO? What is Saturn in Aries trying to do? Well, what is Aries about? Aries is a martial fire sign. It's ruled by Mars, and it deals with the individual or a personal, egoic way of going about things in general. And with Saturn there will be a sense of restriction around, or there would be, with Saturn not conjunct to Neptune, there would be a sense of restriction around our personal ability to do things. Saturn is a restriction. In his own way, he's like a wall that we have to go around or go through or go over or be defeated by. It's a cold, illimitable obstacle. But as we saw with the example of Saturn and Neptune in Capricorn, on that same week, the wall fell. So what is, if Saturn in Capricorn conjunct Neptune is a wall being dissolved, what is that Saturn in Aries? What is that? Well, I think it's a wall that is somehow on a personal level. And I may this may be the introduction to a second video, because before I started this, I guess I hadn't really considered what Saturn in Aries really means, and what that would mean to have that thing be completely dissolved. So I'll leave you with that information, and I'll make a second video where we talk specifically about what Saturn in Aries means and what that might look like for it to be dissolved by Neptune. So I look forward to speaking to you about that then. So cheers, God bless you, and we will talk soon.